Yo, what is up, guys? We're back with a new what if, and this what if is what if Naruto had the power of imagination. And without further ado, let's get straight into the what if. We actually start this what if in the Nine-Tailed attack when Grammy, this is his Grammy from Bleach, volume number 63, where Grammy has a whole fight with Kenpachi. Now, and then when Grammy basically thinks that Kenpachi is a monster and says he wants to be better than him, he actually becomes a monster himself, and then that causes him to die because only Kenpachi is used to Kenpachi's power. Now, this would cause him to die, and right before he died, Grammy say, I imagined that I wish I had a different second chance. Now, this would actually start a chain effect, which basically would cause Grammy to be sealed inside none other than baby Naruto. Now, Grammy would pretty much be watching Naruto his entire life, or he will be. Now, the Nine Tails attack in this timeline would still go the same. Obito would attack, and Minato would save Naruto from the explosive tags, but in turn of saving Naruto, Kushina's kidnapped. After this, Obito extracts the Nine Tails and then forces a contract seal with the Nine Tails, or Kurama. Then he summons Kurama and basically controls it with his Sharingan, or Madara Sharingan, I think. And then after that, he basically keeps it under his control to basically go rampage around the village. Now, Minato would head over to his house and basically put Kushina there as well with their new son. After this, he'd put on his Hokage's cloak and basically clench his fist before basically flying away, or not flying away, but using the Flying Thunder God to disappear. Now, after this, everyone be watching the Nine Tails about to do a Biju Dama. Basically, Minato would then jump on top of his head with Gamabunta, or Gamabunta would jump on top of Kurama's head. Now, after this, everyone could see that Minato, or the fourth Hokage, was in Sage mode, so maybe they'll have more of a chance to basically save the village and keep the Nine Tails a little back from the village. After this, Minato would hop on the Hokage's monument before the Kurama would get mad, and he'd start to charge up a Biju Dama. Now he'd charge up the Biju Dama and send it straight at the village. Minato would then use the Flying Thunder God technique to teleport the Biju Dama out of the village, causing a big explosion in the distance. Everyone would basically release a sigh of relief, saying, hey, good thing that Biju Dama did not hit this village because it would have completely destroyed it. Now, after that, Minato would pretty much have a battle with none other than Obito, or Madara. That's what the person would say when he asked him. Minato would say that's not even possible. Madara has been dead for years. You can't even beat him. You would be like an old man by now. After this, Obito would say, I don't care what you think, fourth Hokage. I am going to destroy this village. After this, they would pretty much have their fight with every time Minato goes to attack him, he would go through him. Now, Minato would then figure out the weakness before using the Flying Thunder God technique to appear behind Obito and slam the Rasengan into his back, incapacitating him. Obito would yell that he's gonna come back and destroy this village one day, and Minato would be like, go trash, kid. Nah, just kidding. But he would know that his son Naruto would deal with it, since he is the child of prophecy, or that's what he thinks. Now, after this, Minato would head over to the Nine Tails, and he'd be fighting him before chains would wrap around Kurama. After this, Minato would set the shrine to seal the Nine Tails inside Naruto. Now, after this, the Kurama would get mad and go to stab Naruto, but that wouldn't work. Minato and Kushina would jump in front of it, and Minato would use the Reaper Death Seal real quick, and sealing the Nine Tails inside Naruto and the Nine Tails inside himself, like half inside himself and half inside Naruto. Now, after this would pretty much mark the end of the Nine Tails attack. We time skipped to around when Naruto is around 4 years old. That day, he had just been removed from Hiruzen's house all the way to his new apartment. It looked like a really downgrade from Hiruzen's house all the way to this apartment. Now Naruto, not knowing what anger is, wouldn't really be angry, so you just kind of be like neutral about it. Now Naruto would pretty much try to grow up and try to be smart about the money uh, he gets from Hiruzen. But every time he goes to the store, it seems like he gets charged 3 times the price, and people always say demon. Naruto would be pretty confused and wonder why he's even ostracized or from the village, even though I don't think he even knows what ostracized means. But for some reason, he would know. One day, Naruto would pretty much be buying some ramen, and they would yet again, like the microwave cup. He would then that again charge him $5 for one cup, even though it's like 39 cents. Now after this, Naruto would say, "I wish you turned into a cookie." Now after this, all his bones would pretty much the cashier's bones would pretty much turn into cookie, and when he'd go to hand Naruto his bag after Naruto paid for it, he would pretty much turn into nothing. After this, Naruto would pick up his money that was scammed from him, and he would head out waving to everyone, but everyone wouldn't wave back. They'd be secretly plotting ways to kill him. Now, every villager thought that Naruto killed that uh, cashier. Everyone knows, even Naruto knows he did, but that was pretty much like an accident. He didn't actually mean to kill him. Now, this would pretty much start their plotting of just trying to end Naruto. It's funny because like every time they say I'm gonna kill you, they never do. It's like, wow, quite bold words from a villager. Now after this, Naruto would head over to his house and make some ramen before heading to sleep. Naruto would wake up the next day and realize that maybe that was him who actually did that. Maybe he should train his abilities. Naruto would then head over to the training ground, like 4-year-old Naruto, just letting you know, so don't expect him to be OP. Naruto would then say, like, Naruto would go to punch a tree, say, I wish I punched this tree in half. When Naruto would close his eyes, he would then feel like a thump on his hand, and he'd look up and see that the tree got sent flying, and it's in half pretty much. Naruto would be pretty confused, but he'd be pretty happy. He just punched a tree in half at 4 years old. No one could do that. Naruto would then walk through to see where the tree went until he see 2 people training. Now this would be none other than Guy and Lee. Now he'd walk up to them saying that if can he train along with them, since they seem to be doing pretty well. After this, Guy would be like, your power of youth is so strong that I will train you. After this, Naruto would be confused, but he would just join along with him. This would pretty much start their years of friendship, I guess. And we'll time skip to around where Naruto is 8 years old. Now we see Naruto where he's gotten a lot of strong. He gotten pretty strong in this timeline, and due to him training with Guy Sensei and Lee, he actually gotten pretty well at taijutsu. Now this would pretty much start the start of the academy, but for some reason Lee, being a year ahead of him, would actually already been going, and he would tell Naruto that the academy was pretty okay with him, but they just didn't recognize people who can't use genjutsu or ninjutsu. After this, Naruto would pat his shoulder and say, don't worry, I'll prove them wrong for you. After this, he'd walk into the academy, and he'd go to sit down at this random seat. After this, Iruka would come in. Iruka and Mizuki would come in, basically introduce themselves, saying, Iruka saying, hi, I'm Iruka Sensei, and Mizuki would say, hi, I'm Mizuki Sensei. They would say at the same time that they're going to be their sensei for the next 4 years until they become ninja, so get ready for the ride. Now after this, Iruka would start introducing themselves, doing the orientation, and after this, around 2 hours later, he'd start handing everyone papers, trying to get them a gauge of how smart they are. So in the next 4 years, or every year they do this test, they can see how far they progressed. Everyone had grown at this internally, but they would still do the test, with Naruto completely acing this test, since Naruto is actually pretty strong and has the power of imagination. In order to have the power of imagination, you have to be quite smart to know what you're gonna imagine. Now, after this, Naruto would completely finish the test and he'd hand it over to Ruka. Ruka would be dumbfounded by Naruto's answer, since Sasuke only got a 50 out of 70, but Naruto like 70 points. So Naruto got a 70 out of 70. How is that even possible? He would then quickly break himself out of his shock and tell everyone the results, with Naruto being number one. So after this, Naruto and the rest of the students would be put on the pretty much the apprehension test to see how far they do so far. And this will be the end of this section. Now we start this new section with Naruto and the rest of his students heading down to the playground, or the training ground they have in the backyard of the school. Now they'd head over there, and Ruka would start with obstacle courses, and just tell them to try as possible. Failure isn't too bad. There's no such thing as failure, since you're just starting out. You're just gonna see what your power level is for now. Now, they'd go through the obstacle course with Naruto completely acing this. It's not hard. He's been doing this as like a train. He's been doing obstacle courses as like a warm up when he trained with Lee and Guy Sensei. After this, he'd pretty much completely go through the obstacle course, jumping through trees and avoiding traps easily. With Sasuke also doing the same, but he would have got scratched by a tree or two on the way there, or a trap. Now, after this, everyone else would do pretty well for themselves, or for their current power level, and they'd switch to the second part of the exam, basically the jutsu, the ninjutsu. They'd say, if anyone has any clan jutsus or jutsus they want to show, feel free to come up here. Sasuke would go up and show his fire style fireball jutsu, which would be pretty impressive for students in their class range. Now, after this, Ruka would be pretty start to praise Sasuke, saying, "Fire manipulation at this young of age, that's quite impressive, Uchiha Sasuke." Now, after this, Sasuke would say, "Thank you, Sensei," since this was before the massacre. This is like the day before it, or the day of the massacre. Now, Naruto would come up and basically, he would say, "Look at that tree. I'm gonna make it break into dust." Alright, so keep watching. After this, Naruto would use the power of imagination to turn the tree into dust, and that's what it would do. It would turn it to dust. Naruto would then collect the dust and form it into a tiny little ball. After this, he'd put water into the ball to make it more solidified, and he'd throw it, basically sending it miles away. Now, after this, everyone would be pretty surprised by Naruto's unknown power, and Iruka himself would also be surprised, but he wouldn't really say anything. After this, Iruka starts to praise Naruto, saying for his Kekkei Genkai. That's what he thought it was, and everyone would start to think that it was a Kekkei Genkai. Now, this is what will be ending off this section before the time skip. And we basically come back with the next 4 years of them doing the same test, with Naruto being first place in every part of the test. Now, in this timeline, Naruto would actually never fight Sasuke, since in the manga, Grammy never fought anybody, and he really wanted to win against Kenpachi. So we go to when there's 12 and they're doing the exams to see who's the prodigy of the ninja academy. He's going to be the prodigy of the Konoha 12. Now, after this, Naruto versus Sasuke would happen, and this would be their first time sparring. Sasuke, seeing that Naruto was always above him, would actually get a little stronger, learning some fire jutsus, training more with his father in taijutsu. Well, at least before he was killed. He would still look at some scrolls here and there, trying to at least be better than Naruto, but it would never work out. They would say start, and Sasuke would pretty much charge towards Naruto. Naruto would get into a good taijutsu fight with him, basically kicking Sasuke in the face, sending him flying in the air. Naruto would then teleport, or body flicker, or move so fast. It looks like he's teleporting. He would teleport behind Sasuke midair and put out these wraps from midair or just from nowhere, and he wrapped them around Sasuke before using the jutsu that Lee does to basically send Sasuke into the ground. He would then use the first gate ability. He wasn't going first gate, but it was like one of the abilities you can do. He would then pretty much do like a bulldozer technique before sending Sasuke into the ground. Um, if you guys know the name of this technique, because I completely forgot, definitely put it in the comments below. After this would be pretty much knock out Sasuke for the count, and that would be the end of this section. We resume this section until the end of the exams, where Iruka would be announcing that hey, everyone was passing, or it would say Sasuke Uchiha was first. Now everyone would be confused since Naruto literally folded Sasuke so hard. Iruka would then go through looking for any error, but he see the tests were fragilized. He knows that Naruto got 100% each one. He would then look. He would then look at everyone's handwriting and see that they were similar to Mizuki's. After this, he was gonna actually walk through the door. Everyone would be like, "Hi, Hokage-sama," and he would then look at the test, and he'd say, "This looks similar." He would say internally that this looks similar to Mizuki. He would then look towards Mizuki and say, "Have anything to explain about this? You changing Naruto-san's basically test." After this, Mizuki would try to run towards the door, and there'd be two Anbu there, and they'd basically knock him out and take him away to prison. We are just like figuring out that he was working for Orochimaru. Like they'd figure this out a little earlier than usual. Now, after this would pretty much end the Mizuki incident, so there'd be no stealing skulls today. Now, after this, he'd say, he would then look towards the ninja, the Hyuzen, basically would look towards the new ninja and say, "Good luck on your new ninja adventures. Maybe you'll see me when I assign you a mission." And he'd say, "Bye-bye now." After this, he'd walk out he'd look towards Naruto when he's walking out. He'd be like, "Naruto kind of looks different," but he still had the blonde hair, so he didn't look that different. So after this, he'd walk out, and this would pretty much mark the end of the academy. Iruka would say, "Come tomorrow, and you'll see your new senseis." After this, Naruto and the rest of Team 7 and the other teams would basically head out. Naruto would head over to the training ground where he sees Lee and Guy. Naruto would then hold up his new ninja headband, and basically Lee and Guy would start celebrating in their usual manner, basically celebrating him on his power of youth. And after this, Naruto would sweatshop at their enthusiasm, and they would pretty much start training the next day, doing 5,000 sit-ups, 5,000 push-ups, whatever extreme training regimen that Guy Sensei has in store. Now, Naruto would be tired when he heads home, and he'd basically just go to sleep. The next day, he'd wake up, and he'd put on the drip that Grammy, I think it's Grammy, yeah. And I don't know his last name. It's kind of hard to pronounce, but not hard to pronounce. Like, if I looked at it, I could pronounce it, but it's just basically one of the Stern Ridders that had the power of imagination. Anything they imagine, it would be brought into reality. Now, after this, Naruto would put on that drip and put on his hood for heading out. He would then head towards the academy, where he'd walk in and sit by Sasuke. Since he knows he has a lot, he knows that Sasuke has a lot of fangirls. Just want to erase that possibility from happening, since he did imagine in it. Now, after this, Sakura pretty much come in racing in, trying to sit next to Sasuke. Yeah, that's the word. After this, they tell Naruto, get out the seat. Naruto looked towards them, and like a demonic aura would pretty much show, and he imagined them to never fangirl over Sasuke again. Now this would actually happen, and he'd reach over and basically turn Sakura's arm into a cookie. Now he says, "What if your arm turned into a cookie?" "Oh, right. You're thinking it's gonna break, right?" Don't worry. After this, he then turned her arm back to normal and basically looked towards the front. After this, Iruka would walk in and yet again use that big head no jutsu, the one that makes his head kind of big, and he starts yelling, like louder. I really don't know this jutsu. It's S rank jutsu. Uh, After this, Hiruko would basically yell out for them to be quiet, and he'd then start calling out their teams. Basically, Team 10 being Shikamaru, Ino, and Choji, and their Team Sensei being Asuma Sarutobi. Now, everyone wonders, is this guy related to Hiruzen, the third Okage? But they'd quickly mark it off, as uh, Iruko would pretty much call out Team 8, being um, their sensei being Kurenai. I don't know her last name. And then it would be Hinata Hyuga, Shino Abarame, and Kiba Inazuka. And then they'd say the last and final team, Team 7, would be Sensei being Kakashi Hatake. There's, basically team would be Sasuke Uchiha, Naruto Uzumaki, and Sakura Haruno. Now, everyone wondered Kakashi, one of the copy ninja, and realized that he's going to be strong. Or Sasuke would wonder, this guy's going to be strong. This guy will make me strong, hopefully, to kill Itachi. Naruto would wonder if this guy will be strong because he actually wants to fight him. It would be pretty exciting. And Sakura would be kind of Sakura. But in this timeline, Naruto imagined that she would never fangirl for Sasuke, so she'd be just looking at the wall. After this, we could say, let's say that their senseis are coming in soon. Now, after this, he would walk out the class, and Kurona and Asuma would come in and pretty much take their team away to have the evaluation test to see if they can become a team. Now, after around 4 hours later, Kakashi would walk in, and this is pretty much where I'll be ending the episode, where Kakashi would walk in the class and say, you guys are boring. Basically starting the introduction of Team 7, but not really that much of an introduction. Now, without further ado, guys, peace out.